This video covers page 18 of your notes, talking about the order of operations. So the order of operations is the order in which you evaluate an expression. So evaluate just means get a number for an answer. So you're going to do all kinds of operations, exponents, multiplying, square roots, things like that. And you have to do them in a certain order. And then your answer will be just a number, or it could be a fraction. So we usually learn this as either "Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally" or PEMDAS, depending on how you've learned them in the past. So the first letter is a P, which stands for parentheses, but I'm actually going to change it to grouping symbols, because you won't always see parentheses. Sometimes it will be parentheses. Sometimes there'll be fancy ones, so there'll actually be brackets instead. We've learned about absolute value, so if there's things happening inside the absolute value, you have to do that first and then take the absolute value of it. Also, square root. So if you have numbers that are being added or multiplied or anything like that under the square root. So we're looking at things that are happening in the square root, in the absolute value, in the brackets, or in the parentheses. If it's just a number, then you don't have to do anything with it. But there's any operation inside any of those grouping symbols, that's what you're supposed to simplify first. After that is E, and that is exponents. So you can see there in number 2, we have an exponent with the 4, so you would need to get rid of that first. So you can think of it as, what do I need to get rid of? If there's parentheses or anything like that, you have to get rid of those. Then if there's exponents, you have to get rid of those. What I mean by get rid of is actually evaluate that down to a number. Now, we have only 2 boxes left, but we have 4 operations. That's because multiplication and division actually go together. They are on the same line because you do those from left to right. So if division comes first when you're reading it left to right, then you have to divide first. So this will already be shown in problem number 1. Our last 2 are addition and subtraction, which same thing. Those need to be done left to right. So if we look at number 1, what usually happens is people see this parenthesis and they think, oh, I need to make that 3 times 2, which is 6. That is incorrect. So this is what is so confusing. Even though it says we have to start with parentheses, there's nothing happening in the parentheses. So you could actually rewrite this as 7 plus 54 divided by 3 times 2. So we actually don't need the parentheses in there. A lot of people want to do the 3 times 2 first, but right up here it says multiplication and division needs to be done from left to right. So we actually need to do the 54 divided by 3 first. That gives us 18. So we have 7 plus 18 times 2. Now again, a lot of people think we need to do 7 plus 18, but no, multiplication comes first. So now we need to do 18 times 2, which is 36. So 7 plus 36 gives us 43 as our final answer. So again, make sure you're working left to right, especially with that multiplication and division. Number 2, we have an exponent, so we have to do that first. If you feel confident just crossing that off and saying, I know that 4 squared is 16, you can do that. Another thing I suggest is that you, whenever there's a break, so with addition and subtraction, you can actually break this into 3 parts. So your first part is simply the number 24. Then you bring the subtraction sign down. Your middle part now is 4 squared times 3. Well, we know 4 squared is 16. 16 times 3 is 48. So I just did all of that without showing much work. And then I have plus 15 as my third part. Once it's all in as one big line with addition and subtraction, you just go straight across. That should give us negative 9. If you want to do this minus this to get negative 24 and then add 15 to do that, you can, but you really can just go straight across to get your negative 9. What you can't do is you cannot put 48 plus 15 together. You could technically do negative 48 plus 15, all right, but that's why it's easier just to do it all the way straight across after you're down to all addition and subtraction. Okay, so in number 3, technically you should do the absolute value first because it's a grouping symbol. But what I'm going to show you is if you think of breaking this into different parts, you can do more than one thing at once. So break it in between. Here's a plus sign. Actually, I'm going to put it after the plus sign so we don't lose it. There's a plus sign and there's a minus sign. So you're breaking it into 3 separate sections again. So we can do each section at once rather than having to write everything down a whole bunch of times. So 9 squared is 81. Bring down the plus sign. 28 divided by 4 is 7. Bring down the minus sign. The absolute value, remember that's what those bars mean, absolute value of negative 18 is positive 18. So there, instead of doing absolute value first, rewrite the whole problem. Square, rewrite the rest of the problem. You can break it and do 3 different things at once, and then now we have all addition and subtraction, so you can just put that all together and you should get 70 for your final answer. When we look at number 4, there's only one addition sign, so we're only going to break this into 2 parts. I am going to kind of think of bringing the 48 and the division down first, though, because we have to do the inside. We have to do the parentheses. So inside the parentheses, this is what we're focusing on right now. We need to do 2 to the 5th, which is 32. 32 minus 29 is 3. So I have 48 divided by this whole thing right here became 3. And then I'm going to put my plus sign, bring my plus sign down. 6 squared is 36. So again, you can do more than one thing at once. I simplified the whole inside of the parentheses down to 3, and then I also brought down the 36 rather than rewriting 6 squared. So now I need to do 48 divided by 3 is 16, plus 36 gives me 52 for my final answer. With number 5, I've got 2 separate sets of parentheses, so that's already broken apart. So I'm actually just going to bring the subtraction sign down. A lot of people want to do this first because it's an exponent. That is not what you do. You need to do the inside first. If there's parentheses, you have to get it all down to one number before you do anything else. So we need to do 9 minus 5, which is 4. Then 4 to the 3rd power. If you need to rewrite it out as 4 to the 3rd power, do that. You should get 64. We brought down our subtraction sign. Now all we're worried about is this, 18 minus 6 times 2. A lot of people want to do 18 minus 6. You have to multiply before you subtract. That's what our order of operations are. So 6 times 2 is 12. 18 minus 12 is 6. So 64 minus 6 gives us 58 for our final answer. Number 7, I'm going to break apart the plus sign and I'm going to break apart the division sign because I can do that square root at the same time. So I'm going to bring down my 7 and my plus because I can't do anything with that. Here, now this 4 is inside the parentheses. So if you look back at number 5, the 3 was on the outside. That's why we had to subtract first. This one, the 4 is right next to the number. So we need to do 3 to the 4th first. That gives us 81. So in my parentheses, I have 53 minus 81. That gives me negative 28. So negative 28 is what I bring down in the middle. And then I have my division sign. The square root of 16 means what times itself is 16, and that gives us 4. Now we have addition and we have division. We have to do the division first. Negative 28 divided by 4 is negative 7. So we have 7 plus negative 7, which cancels out to 0.